Alright guys, welcome to the new unit impressions for October Halloween seasonal units. For those of you unfamiliar with my new setup on YouTube, I am now in the kitchen until renovations are done. So if those of you guys on Twitch, feel free to say hello to those on YouTube. Say hello in the comments, join the community, and of course for any other discussions and, you know, basically if you want to socialize, there is a Discord as well. So yeah, this banner is indeed very cool, but I'm gonna keep it objective, okay? I'm gonna keep it objective, as I always have been. It doesn't matter what gets released. It could be a blue square that gets released by Fire Emblem Heroes, you know, or a green square, you know, and the green square beats the blue square. I'm still gonna tell you guys up front how the units are likely to perform, what the role is in the meta, and how you can utilize them or likely think about utilizing them in the future, all right? So let's look into the video. I'm gonna give you my thoughts, of course, my opinions, and then what I think they implicate into the current game state. Costumed and ready for candy.
What do you think? Pretty cool costume.
Alright, so there it is. There's your Mia alt. Yeah, some people have indeed asked me whether I would like to see a Mia alt. You know what? My stance on alts is pretty different from I think most people. I don't actually care that much, and I prefer the OG costumes. I'm like the kind of guy that plays like other games, and then there's like the original costume, and I kind of like played with that most of the time, whether it's like Smash or even, you know, any other game where you put on like costumes or something. I just prefer the OG look. So yeah, that is basically my stance on this. I actually prefer my OG Mia. However, that's just my opinion on this. What I do think about the unit itself, she's a flying healer. That means she's the first of that kind of unit, which is great. Like, a lot of the community has been asking for this for a while, so that's awesome. I'm glad it's Mia, so that's also pretty cool. And yeah, it's a very good role because healers did not have reliable sustain at all in their movement type. If you tried to complete any sort of content, that was a big weakness for them. It's also colorless magical damage, and I'm suspecting Mia will likely be very fast and probably have decent attack too, just based on how they've been releasing these units so far. So yeah, she's gonna be really good. But there's another reason why she's gonna be really good, and we'll talk about it in a second. Okay, so you thought Flora had the biggest text of all time? No, okay? Witchy Wand Plus has even bigger text, and I'm not gonna bother reading that whole thing. I'm basically just going to summarize it for you, okay? Witchy Wand, essentially when you hit a target, resets their special cooldown back to its base state, and then applies guard to the unit and the units around it. Now, when I say guard, it's kind of like a reverse or anti-guard. So the unit attacks, they have one cooldown reduced on hitting. So essentially, if they don't have any special acceleration like Heavy Blade, Bold Fighter, Flashing Blade, when the enemy hits, it doesn't accelerate its cooldowns at all. And that's awesome. That's really good, especially for something like a healer, which one of their biggest weaknesses was they hit stuff maybe with Dazzling, Gravity, Pain, or whatever, and they were just charging the enemy's special cooldowns. Then you just ended up fighting something with like a fully charged Ether or Ignis or something crazy like that. So yeah, it's crazy. You're basically attacking into a unit and resetting their cooldown amazingly. Now, what I do want to point out, and why Mia is going to be really desired, it's not for arena reasons, it's not even for PvP. The reason that I think Mia is going to be super amazing is because if you've been playing other Abyssals, Inferno modes or something, Intelligent Systems has this way of just making a cooldown instant charged instant charge as soon as you start the map. Like, you can imagine, remember like Legendary Myrrh had Fire Emblem charge turn 1. Okay, so this means you can Witchy Wand him with Dazzling effect so he doesn't retaliate, and his Fire Emblem charge would be back to 2. So that's insane. That's really good. And of course, for Arena, it'll also be really good. However, I do generally think that the 3 and 4 star healers with Gravity and repositions are still going to dominate that as an Arena Assault check, and it's not going to be as good as Witchy Wand. Gravity's still the king there, and probably for Grand Conquests and Rival Domains or Abyssal Relay defenses and such, Pain, it will likely, and Gravity will still be the better options in those game modes. But when it comes to PvE content, Witchy Wand will definitely be king, and of course it's inheritable because it's a plus. So yeah, very good weapon, very good for PvE, and that's what healers and flyers definitely needed. So great overall. Recover Plus, probably the best heal you can actually give a healer, so it's great that you don't have to spend 20k feathers there. Heavenly Light, again, it does come from Risk, but it's just nice to have it right as a staple. Speed Res Bond does imply that she's going to be fast, as she always has been, but the res is kind of weird because she's never really been known for res, so I guess they might flip her stats here and give her higher res rather than higher defense, I think. We don't know until tomorrow, but yeah, that bond skill is unfortunately not the greatest. I don't find it to be too useful, and healers themselves won't really utilize it too well because, or like Mia, because unless you're baiting something, it has no real player phase usage, in my opinion. Very little, honestly. You're probably better off using like a brazen or close counter or something else like that, especially close counter, which could reset cooldowns every single time you attack, and that's insane. You could pretty much stop units in their tracks. Something like Black Luna would never hit her, for instance, unless they were cheating with like Slaying Edge and Osteus Pulse. So I don't know. You could probably stop that as well. Anyways, Home Flyers, still an exclusive skill, 5-star exclusive, and Honoka's the only one in the 5-star pool that has it. So Mia, she's good because she's a good unit, not because she's Mia. Why? It's me, Waluigi.
Those who do not give treats must suffer a trick.
Okay. I don't know what to say, honestly. I have no opinion on this art, nor do I have an opinion on a Kagero alt. It's whatever. Let's talk about the unit. Green armor dagger. Interesting. I don't think we have any other dagger armors yet at all. So this is totally in its new role, and on top of that it's a color. The color could be a benefit and a con, as it always has been with most of the triangle as it has been. I don't know what to expect so far. I think it's good because if you consider some of the effective daggers that came out during summer with the Hoshiden Festival banner, you could really make her cover anything, really. Like, take the Dragon Slaying dagger, for instance. You could give that to her and make her an amazing check for, like, Legendary Tiki, or you could give her the Armor Slaying dagger and slay some daggers and such. So yeah, she's going to be really good at least to cover whatever you want her to do, and of course, daggers are amazing for debuffing and buffing, depending on what daggers you want to choose. So they're very flexible in that regard. But I don't know. I don't know what to say really beyond that. Yeah. So the rest of the units have kind of the same effect as Mia's Witchy Wand did, except instead of spreading out that guard effect, the anti-guard to the other units, it does only hit one target, so in this case Bottled Juice, and of course it has the additional effects of a dagger, which is to debuff the rest of the team around the target and the target itself. She comes with Mirror Strike. That's pretty cool, I guess, if you attack into dragons maybe, and she has high defense. Probably not that useful, honestly. You're probably going to be better off with DB4, DB3, for instance, to make sure you capitalize on whatever dagger you use. Even Attack Wave is brand new, so that's pretty cool. And it's the opposite of odd. I think even skills are actually a little bit better than odd skills because even skills are easier to set up when you actually engage into fights or enemy phase the units on the even turns. So odd was a little awkward because you couldn't really engage or usually bait out units turn one, and you were usually doing that in the second turn. So I think even Attack Wave will be more desirable in that case. Volt Fighter is a good skill. Yeah.
I'll take your candy.
Okay, so she has an additional 16 damage here from Draconic Aura. That is a lot of damage. However, you gotta assume that she also has Mirror Strike, which adds an additional 4 damage. So I'm gonna do some rough math here. Don't hold me accountable for this, but this does mean that she's probably within the 35 to 38 attack range, which is pretty good. And I wouldn't honestly expect less, because, well, you know, the stats lately on all these units have been insane, and Kagero traditionally on her other alts and her original form have some really high attack. So yeah, she's gonna be really good as a result of that. We also don't really know whether the Attack Wave skill was active here or not, so that's another thing to consider. But because it was 16 extra damage, it means she was at least having about 48 to 50 total attack here, something around that much.
For you, I have a trick and a treat.
Oh, okay. I gotta hear that again.
For you, I have a trick and a treat.
This is handsome, ladies and gentlemen. This is handsome. As I said in the beginning, alts don't have that much appeal to me, but this one looks really good. So yeah, it's good. However, Blue armor. If we want to reference like Legendary Lucina, for instance, Legendary Lucina's pretty good, and she's also in a decent color, unlike Legendary Lyn. I think blue armor, blue bow to be specific, is a little bit better than like green bow, for instance, and we don't have a red bow yet to compare, but if we want to base it off a Legendary Lucina comparison, blue bow should be generally pretty good because of what's in the current meta right now. You see a lot of dominant reds, Summer Young Tiki, Adult Tiki could be one, Zelgius of course, you know, so there's a few there which you'll win for sure, and then the other blues as well could be like Hector, Brave Hector, Harden, and Legendary Tiki, which got recently released. And if since he's in armor, he probably will have a decent mixed stat spread, I'm gonna assume here. They're probably not gonna lopside like his original form was, where he had low defense, high res. I should expect him to have probably good both, so he can probably take on dragons like that pretty well. The only other comparison we have to armored bows, of course, is Halloween Jacob. And actually, in my opinion, because Niles is a colored bow, I think Halloween Jacob is the better choice actually over Niles. The fact that Jacob has no weakness, you know, there's no color weakness other than Raven Tome. This means that if you give him Bold Fighter, and like Ignis, of course, I'm talking about Jacob here, he always has fairly consistent damage on most units. Whereas on Niles, it doesn't work in that case if he hits green, for instance. And then red might be a little bit too much damage in that case. Also, Jacob's stats are very min-maxed. He has like very low speed and really good bulk and very good attack. So he's using Bold Fighter. He doesn't need the speed. He's getting doubles already. So that makes Jacob already pretty hard to beat for Niles in that case. So I'm actually expecting Niles to actually be the underwhelming unit of this banner. However, based on Niles' previous iteration and just generally the game he comes from, he's always been quite a fast unit, and that's what I expect him to be. So unlike Jacob, he'll likely have a similar like attack stat and maybe decent bulk, but instead of having as much bulk as Jacob or maybe as much HP, he'll have good speed. And that speed means that Niles will be a very good candidate for Special Fighter. Special Fighter is that new recently released skill on Ephraim, on Brave Ephraim, and that's really good on like armors that don't rely on Bold Fighter to double. That means that he's going to get that special acceleration, he's going to deny enemy acceleration, and that's going to be insane. So he doesn't have to rely on Bold Fighter, and he'll probably kick some butt using that. So that's the huge advantage he has here, but he likely won't be as consistent as somebody like Jacob. And honestly, Jacob's coming back in like a week, guys, so you know, a week or two. They'll rerun it around this time, so if you want probably the better armored unit, you likely would just go for Jacob. He does come with attack speed link though, and that's a pretty good link. I think it's one of the better ones for sure. Again, his bow is kind of the same effect as the other weapons so far. Yeah, that looks pretty good.
I may not technically be a child, but I still like candy.
Sure. I personally prefer the OG Myrrh. Red Armor Dragon. Okay. Again, brand new slot. We have the Green Armor Dragon in Grima, we have the Blue Armor Dragon in Legendary Tiki, and now we have the Red Armor Dragon, so it's kind of like fulfilled every role. However, and before people cry too much about this, you know, she is a trainee unit. Trainee units, just like Noe, just like Young Tiki, just like Myrrh herself, you know, and others that are also like young dragons. And there's other trainees as well, like Donald and Tobin and Gray, for instance. These units have enhanced BST, and as referenced the original Fire Emblems, that means they ended up stronger in the end, but weaker at the start. So that means that we don't have no sort of Generation 3 BST. She's likely going to be somewhere between 178 BST to 180 BST, probably just like Legendary Tiki. But yeah, so don't need to cry. It's still following the rules of the game's design so far, and she'll have enhanced BST. But there are some inherent flaws with being a Red Armor Dragon. First of all, the red pool is extremely saturated. You are spending hundreds, and I mean hundreds of orbs to get even a single copy, and if you try to go for plus 10, you're looking at 2,000, easily 2,000 plus orbs, where in contrast to something like the green pool, you know, you could end up maybe spending 1,200 to like 1,600 orbs. That's a giant contrast. So the red pool is big poo-poo, and honestly, if you're looking for score in the long term, Legendary Tiki is the preferred option because she's a legendary hero, so legendary heroes also provide blessings and score benefits to the rest of your team. So Tiki's kind of the better choice when it comes to, you know, the higher scoring units. Does it affect most people? No, it doesn't, okay? I gotta really clear this up, okay? Like, I see this all the time, everywhere. It does not affect you, okay? Like, if you are not one of the top 100 ranking players in Fire Emblem Heroes, the floor has not changed. You do not need to pull for this unit. Most people will not have this unit, and it will only be a bonus unit for 2 to 3 weeks at most. And again, because it's red, it's gonna be really difficult to pull. So, you know, and Legendary Tiki will actually also be there. This is gonna be her and Legendary Tiki. So, you know, the floor will raise only for a short period of time, and then after that, things go back to being as they were, which is with Alphonse, Sharina, whatever people have as bonus units. You know, if you're in tier 18, 19, maybe even 20, the most dominant thing that will raise your score and give you ranking is A, adding merges to your units, SP optimization using double rallies, 240 SP skills, or finally, just get good. Okay, just get good. Get 20 bonus unit kills on whatever unit you use. I don't care if it's Anna, I don't care if it's Alphonse, I don't care if it's Sharina. Just get good, get 20 kills, make a synergized team comp, okay? There's plenty of arena videos that I've showcased on the YouTube channel already. And on my stream, I've been able to do it with budget builds, Fury Renewal, Attack Smoke, all 3 and 4 star options. If you don't have those, well, you know, eventually you will. And if you don't, there's still alternative options to it, okay? Like, you can just, there's plenty of options, and this unit here is not going to break the game. That's my stance on this. Let's talk about her herself. So, Defense Res 2 in the A slot, whatever. Vengeful Fighter in the B, as we all know, that's a good skill. And Armor March in the C. She's pretty much good out of the box, except the A slot will likely be changed maybe to a Brett skill. Maybe a Brett skill, maybe something else like Distant Counter. I think Distant Counter would actually be the best choice. Then you'd use either Bonfire, Ignis, or Ether in the special slot. So, Spear of Breath. This is kind of the reverse of Great Flame, where if she's attacking, she makes a guaranteed follow-up attack like Bold Fighter if she has more defense. So it's not stopping the enemy from doubling you, it's making her double the enemy if she has more defense. Now, if you look at the combat here, so you gain 25 extra damage there. Bonfire is 50% of your defense, so it usually means she has here 50 defense. But of course, we have to take into account that the weapon gives 3 defense, that she has a defense res 2 in the A slot, so she's getting an additional 5 defense easily. We don't know if she's buffed, but let's assume she isn't, so that means like 45 defense at base here. Yeah, it's a lot of defense. It still doesn't mean much. She's still going to be very easy to counter in Arena Assault. If you guys haven't already seen, especially with Legendary Tiki, you know, Legendary Tiki's biggest counter is literally a Hawkeye with a hammer, or Bartray with a hammer, you know, and an attack stat. Like, the thing is, a color triangle plus effective damage still beats up these units. Falchion is going to beat up Myrrh. Oboro with a heavy spear is going to beat up Myrrh. S is going to beat up Myrrh. You still beat them with effective damage and color triangle. It's not that big of a deal. You know, even if she has 45 defense, you can still buff up that specific unit to kill them in Arena Assault if that they run into them. And of course, if you see them often in Arena, which would be very unlikely, if you should have a decent synergized team core that you'll be able to beat her regardless. I very rarely have issues with these new units if you just consider your team options. Oh, yes. Okay, so to finally summarize the banner itself, it lasts a whole month. There is Mia on here. There is Niles on here. Yes, they are 2 of my favorite characters. I will not be pulling on this banner day 1. I will not be summoning day 1, and I will not be spending money on this banner. Sorry, guys. Especially if those of you were expecting that to happen. As I said in the beginning of the video, it is just, I prefer original versions over seasonals. I think they're cool, but that's all I'll give them for. It's not anything that really meshes with me. You know, like I played Fire Emblem Fates or I played Fire Emblem 9 not with Niles in a devil costume, and I never didn't play with Witch Mia while I was playing Path of Radiance as a kid. You know, like that's not my that's not my connection to these characters. So the originals still hold true to me, and seasonals are just going to be something I pick up probably within 2 to 3 weeks from now, near the end of the banner. Once I save up enough orbs, then I'll do some summons for them. Probably by the time another banner comes out, and you probably forget about this banner. If you yourself are looking for a specific unit, I actually highly recommend picking up Mia. Not Myrrh, not Kagero, and definitely not Niles, because Jacob will probably be comparable. Mia is the one to go for here without even looking at stats, because of the fact that I mentioned earlier, the Witchy Wand is going to be exceptional for PvE content, where you can reset cooldowns and make your matchups a lot easier, where things spawn with cooldowns ready. And of course, flying healers, it's just like the perfect unit that you can have on a flying team comp, because it's what they were missing. They were missing a healer for sustain, and flyers have exceptional mobility. You could give her like gravity, and you can reposition all over the place over mountains, rivers, and such. So Mia is kind of like, I think, the go-to on this banner. And yeah, that pretty much covers it. I do think waifu, my wife will probably want to summon for Niles, and that's probably what you guys will see in a couple of days. So I'll be there supporting her. She picks up perfect husbando, and I'll just have to summon up the patience instead. Okay guys, let me know what you think of these units in the comments below. Please try to keep it positive. You know, the game is not going to die just because Myrrh came out. That's all I really ask for, okay? Let me know which unit you like, which one you're going to go for, or have some intentions to summon for in the future. And maybe some build options. Show me what you got, okay? I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.